Hey guys, and welcome to this video where we look at some rounds of how NRG approaches the A sites of Inferno. So while watching some of their games, I noticed that they love to send free players towards that B side of the map to try and get some early banana control, and I think they do this more so than what other top teams would do. And the thing that was confusing me while watching them is that their opposing teams would never call their bluff and run some fast plays towards their A-bomb site to try and exploit the fact they might only have two players there. So the reason that I think teams are hesitant to call fast A plays into NRG is because NRG loves to do aggressive setups with only two players on the A-bomb site and use their utility early, and perhaps teams are scared of calling fast rounds because if they call it into the wrong setup, it's almost certainly going to be a disaster for them. So keep in mind the two things that the T's are likely to do if they want to go for a fast execute is either take brackets into going short or long, or going for a fast apps drop where they'd only need some apps control. To start off with, we're going to see a really great aggressive mid setup coming out from NRG, and watching board with Daps, we can see the first deep mollies mid before getting into this right corner and pushing all the way along. So I think most players that do this sort of aggressive push would play a more open angle and hold kind of as players come out second mid to cross that stairs area, but instead Daps is playing a deeper angle and just kind of holding that stairs jump up. And as we see, he actually catches twists here, jumping onto the balcony, but will unfortunately lose the duel, but it was definitely a favourable situation. So anyway, let's watch this round play out again, but this time from the perspective of Circ, and as we can see, he's initially holding that mid swing, and then once the molly has bloomed a little, he moves on to holding under. Now the next thing we see here is going to get a really nice kill onto a liege, and then afterwards he's going to push aggressively towards that second mid area, and he's going to trade onto twists. And the next thing he does here is a little bit perplexing as he falls into boiler rather than back towards short and just playing out that man advantage, and he gives Liquid the opportunity here to go back into a 3 versus 3 scenario, which is certainly not too bad for the terrorist side. So let's just talk quickly about this setup from NRG. Now it should be quite easy to see that this setup is viable because Circ is taking first contact towards those mid and under areas, so Daps can safely face second without the fear of being swung from those locations. But what's more interesting in my eyes is how this setup works within the bigger picture. So let's just think about how the terrorists would call into NRG here. Now if they wanted to call the CT's bluff of going free towards B early, an option they might want to explore is forcing out fast brackets control, and this would mean they want to go fast with multiple players up that mid area. Now if they did that into this CT setup from NRG, it would not pan out well. They'd have to go through a molly, and even if they managed to flash Circ back, Daps would very likely be able to turn them and get loads of kills onto the terrorist side. So the underrated thing that this does within an overall T side is if you show this setup, it might scare the opposing in-game leader from calling fast brackets takes because they don't want to risk going into this setup. And instead, they might opt to play more passively, which is exactly what you want when you're risking 3 players towards banana early. So next up, we're going to see an aggressive app setup coming out from NRG, and as we can see, they're not on a perfect buy here, so they probably felt like they had to take a bit of a risk with the setup, and that's exactly what they're going to do. So Breezy and Circ are going to get themselves into apps, and they're going to move into this aggressive setup where Circ is taking first contact down the stairs and Breezy is holding the balcony doorway. So here Breezy is going to hear Twist spamming, so he decides to swing into the doorway and kill Twist, and at almost exactly the same time, Circ is going to find Taco as he swings out looking for that trade kill, and just like that, NRG are into a 5 versus 3. Now, as I'm sure many of you are already aware of, the apps area on Inferno is very spammable, so it's definitely not a good idea to play these setups more than a couple times a half. But again, and probably to a lesser extent than the aggressive mid setup we saw on the previous clip, showing aggressive app setups can cause the opposing in-game leader to hesitate in calling those fast app drops, which can potentially be a good counter if you've got the read that they're playing free towards banana early. In this following clip, we're just going to look at a quick example of another 2-man app setup coming out from NRG. So this time it's a little bit more standard and it's a double Longhaul setup, which has been relatively common over the years within competitive Inferno. So here Breezy, he pushes up along the left side wall and he's holding the balcony side swing, and Circ is holding the swing from up these stairs. So here Breezy's actually going to exchange a few shots with that man advantage that they'd already gained from the B side of the map. They think better of it and fall back to the site, not wanting to give up that man advantage. Moving on then, in this round we're going to see yet again another setup coming out from NRG towards that A site. So here they're going to be sending 3B to try and get that early banana control. So it's only going to be Breezy and Circ on that A bomb site. And here they don't have an AWP on Circ, so perhaps they couldn't play a setup that we've already seen in this video. So what they're going to play here is a double short setup with Circ pushed into the pillar and Breezy is on shorts hidden from mid and Boiler holding that balcony run out. So what they're doing here is initially playing a setup to counter teams coming through that mid smoke and forcing out fast brackets control into some sort of A execute. So initially here both of them are anti-flash because the main risk here is that MIBR is going to flash through this mid smoke to force out that fast brackets control. So in this scenario, when Daps comes back from the B side of the map, they decide to stay in the same setup. So as we can see, MIBR here is going for brackets control with only 2 players and they have not thrown a short corner molly, and Circ is going to take first contacts onto those players coming out mid and falls back behind the pillar, and now Breezy will swing out and Daps will come through the long smoke and they will trade out those players. Next up then we're going to see another aggressive double app setup coming out from NRG, but this time I'm just going to gloss over the specifics of the setup and instead we're going to focus on the advantages that can come from playing aggressively and gaining information about what those terrorists are doing. So the time here has now ran down to about 1 minute 10 and Breezy is going to re-smoke mid. So at this point in the round, NRG has both apps and brackets control and they haven't heard anything from these areas from the terrorist side. And being this far into the round, NRG goes with this informed guess that MIBR has heavy numbers towards that banana area on the map and they might be gearing up to go into a mid-round B execute. So on this round, MIBR are going to do a double exec onto B where they focus on first nades to bait some util and then they actually execute onto the site with the second set of nades and hopefully they've drawn out those counter nades from the CT side. And this means that on this round, Circ will move back to Speedway as that mid smoke goes down, so it won't actually make a massive difference when MIBR do actually commit to that B site. But as you can see, if MIBR had committed into going for a B execute when they did have 3 very close to that B site, it would have likely lost the round because of the information that NRG had gained. Finally then, this last round we're going to watch here is definitely off topic compared to the rest of the video, but I simply had to show the world the madness that occurs during this pistol round. Now beyond the start of this round, I'm not going to analyse it very much because it very quickly dissolves into total chaos. So as you can see, NRG is going with 2 players into apps and 2 players fast mid and swinging out into second mid on some flashes over the top. Now seeing 5 players towards one site on a pistol round is definitely a rare occurrence, and I can say with near 100% certainty that NRG only had the balls to call this round because they thought to themselves that they had a very good read on what Ghost was going to do on their terrorist pistol, and otherwise it would have been just simply too much of a risk to stack this heavy during a pistol round. Because had Ghost just gone straight into a fast sort of BXQ, which isn't terribly uncommon on the T side of Inferno on pistol rounds, then it would have been almost certainly round over for NRG. Let's reflect then on the setups that NRG were using on the A-bomb site, and in particular when they only had 2 players. So the setups that they play minimise the risk of having less than the standard number of players on the A-bomb site, and this might seem totally obvious to some people and certainly will be to professional players, but I thought it was worth highlighting the setups in particular that they'd use to minimise these risks. and perhaps how you can show rounds across a half to cause the opposing in-game leader to hesitate with their calling. Anyways, if you enjoyed that one, why didn't you like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.